Take charge of your thoughts. Take charge of your life.
Psychologist, author, speaker, musician, former professor, and the host of Love and Life, Dr. Karen Anderson-Abril.
Welcome to Love and Life. I'm Dr. Karen Anderson-Abril. Today we're going to focus on two things. One, single living, because you guys know I spent so many years single, so I have a huge passion for singles and the single life and the reality that singles experience single shaming. And this week is the perfect time to address single life because it's National Unmarried and Single Americans Week. Now, I first came across this week when I was doing research for my book, Single is the New Black, Don't Wear White Till It's Right. And before that, I didn't even know there was a week for singles. But it may seem like, why do we need a week? Well, yeah, but if you've been single for any period of time in your adult life, you get why we need a week, because there is a very prevalent notion that singles must be doing something wrong and that they're fundamentally flawed, and that's why they're still single. And in my book, I take issue with all of that, and I provide encouragement and empowerment for women because it's hard and it gets old going stag everywhere you go and flying solo and having to deal with life's challenges alone. But what I emphasize in the book is that all that time that you're single just makes you stronger and better prepared for the wonderful relationship that is coming your way. And as I say on Instagram all the time, true love is worth the wait. And later in the episode, we'll take a sneak peek into season 2 of Love and Life. I have some incredible guests lined up. It's going to be so exciting. I'm so thrilled to share this with you and get you excited about what is coming up next as well. If you drink black coffee or hot tea, I know you've burned your tongue hundreds of times, or you've had to wait 20 minutes for your coffee to cool down, which by that time, your donut or muffin is long gone and you've missed the joy of pairing that sweet breakfast item with your bitter black coffee. If it sounds like I'm speaking from personal experience, I am. But I've got good news for us. Drink Perfection takes beverages from scalding hot to the perfect temperature where you can actually appreciate the flavor notes, by the way, in just 20 seconds without watering them down. Learn more at drinkperfection.com. And be sure to check out the Perfector's other application, taking red wine from room temp to wine cellar temperature, again in just 20 seconds. Find out more at drinkperfection.com. So as I mentioned, we're going to kick off this episode and kick off National Unmarried and Single Americans Week by focusing on the single life. And this is something, as I mentioned, that has been a big concern for me. I mean, it's why I wrote my book, because all the other books out there seem to try to tell me, yes, you are doing something wrong, Karen. You are fundamentally flawed. And I always thought, well, I don't think I'm any more or less flawed than all my happily married friends. I don't think that that's the reason I'm still single. And of course, singles get told they're too picky and all this. It's maddening. So I've told some of you this story before, but I really had to look in the mirror and say, listen, Karen, there's no book out there that approaches the single life and the frustrations therein from your vantage point. So you're a psychologist, you better go write that book. And that's really why I wrote Single is the New Black, Don't Wear White Till It's Right. It came from what I felt was a need. We needed a different vantage point, a different angle in the self-help literature. So if you haven't read the book, I hope you will. This week is a perfect time to grab it. I'm going to be doing some giveaways on Insta, so follow me there and enter the giveaways because it's really my best word of encouragement for you. And it's based on, there's like research, of course, but it's based on all those years I spent single and how demoralized I would get after the 700th date that, again, was not a fit. So, like I said, because single life and singleism has been a part of my personal journey, and it's something that I've obviously covered on the podcast a lot as well, going back to episode 2, which I called Single Shaming, You've Either Experienced It or Been Guilty of It. And in this episode, I share some of my personal experiences when I was single shamed and how I dealt with it. So if that interests you, go way back to episode 2 and give that a listen. Another episode you might want to check out is Episode 6, Single on Valentine's Day. Don't just survive, thrive. In this episode, I interview Damia Jackson of the website Single Girls Rock, and we talk about how to handle times, and Valentine's Day, of course, is one of them, when it seems that everyone else is so lovey-dovey and happily coupled up, and you are not. So we talk about some strategies and ways to stay strong in the midst of times that can be rather frustrating. In episode 16, I speak with Nichelle Polston and Alicia Jones of the blog Give Me a Ring and a Baby. We talk about how to grieve the loss of something we've never had. We discuss the pain associated with a life that refuses to play out as planned, whether we're longing for a husband but flying solo to yet another wedding, or receiving a baby shower invitation the day we learn our IVF cycle has failed for the third time. Nichelle and Alicia share their stories, their frustration, which is often exacerbated by insensitive, unsolicited input from friends and family, along with their triumph, how they've managed to find peace, joy, and purpose in the midst of their unique grief. In episode 17, I speak with Kira Sabin. She's the founder of the League of Adventurous Singles. Kira shares her philosophy for thriving while flying solo, and she reveals methods from her coaching practice, which she calls the Owner's Manual. Kira and I do not tell you the mysteries of the male mind in this episode because we are women and we don't have a male mind. And also, we do not give you secrets to finding the one because sadly, there's no magic bullet and everyone's path is different. But in this episode, you will learn strategies for loving yourself and loving your life as is. Because as Kira always says, great relationships start with ourselves. In episode 19, I answer some of listeners' questions about the single life. It's called All the Single Ladies Q&A. One listener asks, after being single for so long, is it possible that I've become so independent that I'll end up stuck in my ways and unable to find love? Another asks, how do I get my mom to stop bugging me about my love life or lack thereof? And a third asks, why do I keep getting back with my ex even though I know we're not 100% right for each other? So if you've had any of these questions, give episode 19 a listen. In episode 20, I interview author John Berger, who wrote the book Date-onomics, How Dating Became a Lopsided Numbers Game. John and I talk about the numbers behind some of the most frustrating aspects of the dating scene today, like what's going on with the hookup culture, and why it seems so much harder to have a solid relationship nowadays as opposed to our parents' and grandparents' day. In episode 30, I tackle another one of the most infuriating aspects of today's dating landscape, ghosting. Most of us have been ghosted, and to be fair, many of us have done some ghosting ourselves. So I ask the question, is ghosting really the worst way to exit a relationship? Or might it be a kinder way to go? I also get personal and share 2 times when I got ghosted and how I responded and how I dealt with it. So if ghosting's been on your mind recently, episode 30 is for you. Another episode I often share with people who DM me with questions about why is it taking me so long to meet the one is episode 32, You Can't Hurry Love, in which I interview the late blooming bride, Treva Brandon Scharf. Also, Chip Gregory, a late blooming groom, weighs in as well. What I love about this episode is we talk about the perks of walking down the aisle later, because there are perks. There are benefits to waiting a bit, to knowing who you are, to spending some time single as an adult, and then bringing all that wisdom and self-knowledge and self-love into your marriage. So if you're a late bloomer like us, check out episode 32. For any of you who've been married and are now back on the dating scene, episode 36 is for you. It's called Dating Post-Divorce, interview with UK Dating Expert of the Year, Anne Arette. We talk about how daunting and discouraging the dating scene can be, especially when you're coming from a place of, wait, I thought I was done with dating. I was not planning on having to be back in the scene again. Anne shares both the strategies that she teaches her clients and also her personal journey of divorce herself. In episode 44, I interview Catherine Baldwin, the author of How to Fall in Love, a 10-Step Journey to the Heart. But the best part about Catherine's book is that it's not a how-to snag a man book. It's all about falling in love with yourself. So for any of you out there who struggle with self-love, which I think we all do from time to time, this episode 44, is for you. So of course I get a lot of people asking me, Karen, how did you meet your person? And so in episode 46, Dan and I talk about that. And we also interview Melissa Brown, the CEO of It's Just Lunch dating service, which is how Dan and I met. So if you're looking for a different way to meet someone, tired of swiping, tired of online, check out It's Just Lunch and episode 46. Another question that I get a lot, and I do want to devote more content to, another podcast episode and more IGTVs, is how do we deal with the biological clock? Because so many of the single women I interact with tell me they're fine being single. They're not lonely. They enjoy the single life. They're thriving. The only thing that's getting them, that's nagging at them, is that fear that if they don't find someone soon enough, they won't be able to have children, which has always been their goal and their dream. And that's not an easy issue to delve into because it's painful. So in episode 48, I speak with Allison Sepanara and Bruni Getchell. They're both therapists. Allison is single and she's in her late 30s. Bruni is in her 60s and she's single again now as well. And we talk about what the clock, what the timing of everything means. And can we possibly find some peace even when we fear that we're running out of time? In episodes 49, 51, and 55, I speak with the fairy godfather. You know him from Instagram as that big brother that's giving you the straight talk from a male perspective, which we sorely need because all too often we're asking our girlfriends about what this text from a guy means. We really need the vantage point of the male mind, and that's what TFG has for us. So if you're looking for that kind of content, there's 3 episodes there. Also, if you need them, there are transcripts of our conversation because TFG has a Yorkshire accent, which may be a little unfamiliar to the American ear. So if you need that, head over to my website and grab the free downloads of each episode. That way you won't miss a single word. And finally, in episode 58, I speak with international dating coach Renee Slansky. We talk about taking ownership of our lives, especially in the dating realm, and how we take the power position when we recognize our part in whatever went down, because the part that we acknowledge as ours is the part that we can take charge of and change.
Let's connect on social. I'm most active on Instagram at Dr. Karen, that's Dr.Karin. On Twitter, I'm at Dr. Karen Anderson. Live tweet with me when I watch my favorite shows, Will and Grace, my brand new fave, God Friended Me, and of course, all shows Bachelor Nation. Join me on Facebook where I'm stepping up my Facebook Live game. I'm at Dr. Karen Anderson Abril.
So what's coming up in season 2 of Love and Life? So much good stuff. We're going to kick off with an interview with Ken Page, LCSW, the author of Deeper Dating. This is the very best book I've ever read on dating, besides mine, of course. But mine's not really about dating. Mine's about embracing the single life and being happy, hopeful, and positive until the guy comes along. But Ken's book is so deep. It is appropriately titled as Deeper Dating, and I am thrilled to share it with you. Also, we're going to talk about being a stepmom, because that's something that actually more and more people are a part of, step families, based on today's demographics. And I'll speak with Kendall Rose, the author of the Stepmoms Club. We're also going to check back in with Allison Sepanara. She's a psychotherapist who joined us for the biological clock episode, and she's now dating, and she's dating with anxiety. That's her focus for her practice, and she specializes in anxiety, and she also struggles with anxiety herself. And she's on the dating scene, so she's going to talk to us about how she manages her anxiety as she pursues trying to meet the one. I'm also thrilled to bring to you the creator of ACT, Dr. Stephen Hayes. ACT is a third-generation cognitive psychotherapy, and it's more than a psychotherapy. It's a way of living, a philosophy for life. His new book, A Liberated Mind, is fantastic, and my conversation with Dr. Hayes is one you will not want to miss. We'll also be continuing my occasional series called Women Making It Happen in the Workplace with an interview with Chicago's own Showbiz Shelley. we'll learn how Shelley made it happen in her career to become the expert on pop culture and show business on Chicago radio. These are just a few of the episodes coming up in Season 2 of Love and Life. And I'll leave you with another one. Some of you are familiar with Dr. Christina Iglesia and her hashtag movement, #TherapyIsCool. We'll talk about why therapy is cool and is important and is profound, and why we need to remove the stigma of going to therapy because, we go to the dentist twice a year. We go to the doctor for our physical checkups. Why aren't we going to therapy more often for mental health checkups? Join us for that episode. And one more sneak peek into Season 2. We're going to be posting a podcast every week. I've had so many authors reach out to me, and I'm reading their books, and it's great stuff, and I want to share it with you. I also want to devote some episodes to some of the questions that you give me via DM and via email. I want to make sure I'm giving you the content that you're asking for. So to do that, we're going to roll out podcasts every Monday, starting with Season 2. The Love and Life hack for this week is, single is the new black. Don't wear white till it's right. Thanks again for joining me today. Happy National Unmarried and Single Americans Week. And a special thanks for all of you who've rated the podcast and written reviews. All of that helps so very much, and I am so very grateful. Take charge of your thoughts. Take charge of your life. This is Dr. Karen Anderson Abril. Until next time, make it a great week.
Love and Life is produced by Tim May and host and executive producer Dr. Karen Anderson Abril.